Don't stop.
Thanks so much for listening to the Everything and Anything and a Bit Gay podcast. I'm your host, Zach Randalls Friedman. I'm going to start off before we get into my guest today and just talk about how this has been one crazy week. You know, when you have those weeks where you're just like, I can't wait for the week to be over? That's been my week. I try to stay positive as much as I can. And sorry, I keep looking over there, but I have a podcast studio room and there's a door, and somehow the cats have learned to open the door even though there's no handle on the door. It's just a turn knob, but they have learned to now come into the door. So now I have no privacy in my podcast room. So, okay, that's interesting. Maybe a ghost opened the door for them. Who knows? But I've had one of those weeks that we all have once in a while where it just feels like it's been insanely busy. You're thinking, what else could possibly happen that could take me off the course of what I'm need to do? And how can I have this much work to do and this much podcast stuff to do and this much laundry to do and this much house cleaning to do, and it's freezing outside in Boston. Like, you don't even want to go outside to the mailbox to get your mail because it's that cold. And maybe I have a little bit of the February blues, the winter blues, because I'm sick of not being able to go outside and ride my bike or take a long walk, which is what I love to do in the spring and summer and fall, because there's still snow on the ground, because it won't melt, because it will never get above freezing here. Oh, so that's me, and I'm done my complaining. And, that's what a therapist is for. So I maybe need to talk to a therapist or talk to my therapist a little bit. But, I have a guest that's on today that helps people with issues that they're having. They could be feeling burnt out. I'm not feeling burnt out, but people that are feeling burnt out, they could feel, disconnected from people, disconnected from the world, disconnected from their family or coworkers or their partner of life. And people go through these stages. I've gone through those stages where I felt disconnected from people, or I felt disconnected from a job that I was doing, or, relationships. Sometimes, even though we've been together for 27 years, I felt disconnected with my husband at times. 27 years, it's not always rainbows and unicorns and balloons in a relationship. You go through these ups and downs. And my guest today, his name is Nikki, and we kind of talk about some of that. And we also get to a really fascinating conversation about the Telepathy Tapes podcast. If you haven't listened to that, you have to listen to it. It's such an amazing podcast series where it's these children that don't speak. They have autism and they don't speak, and they are able to do telepathy, usually with their parent of theirs. And they do these tests and they film it all and record it all. And there's no way that they could cheat for what they're doing. And it's so fascinating. And me and Nikki, we talk about that because I love those type of podcasts. I love this serial podcast. I wish that would come back. They did a couple of seasons of that. And I remember I was living in New York during the time of one of them. And I would do a walk in Central Park every Saturday and Sunday. Like, I'd do this big loop. It was like I think I ended up doing like a 6-mile walk from my apartment to Central Park, around the reservoir, back down to the end of the park. And I would listen to one or more episodes during that time of my walk. And I just remember it was such a great time. And I loved that walk and loved listening to that podcast. And podcasts are so amazing. And I'm so glad I get to do this as part of my life now. So I hope you enjoy my episode with Nikki. And if you're having a bad week, Hey, we're together in this, so everybody has it. And then, next week or even tomorrow will be better. That's how I'm looking at it. Thanks for listening. Hi, thanks for joining me on the Everything and Anything and a Bit Gay podcast. Today, I have my first guest from Singapore. Welcome to the show, Nikki.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here.
So I have been to Singapore twice in my life. It is a very long flight from the United States, but it is some of the best food. There is a black pepper crab and a chili crab that I dream about, and because they're both so good. And the one thing I don't dream about though is the durian fruit. I do not dream about that ever.
You don't like our durian?
No, I don't. Somebody, we were at one of the markets or hawkers or whatever they call them.
Yeah, hawker, yeah.
And somebody's like, "Oh, you, this is something that you have to at least try when you're here." And the smell was just like smell like burnt tires.
It's terrible. People aren't allowed to take it on the public transport because of the smell.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's like one of our rules. I would say I've only had it a couple of times, but I would say it smells worse than it tastes, but smells really important. So
yeah.
I would not put anyone through that.
But I also had the best massage ever in Singapore also. So like
this sounds like a great holiday.
It was actually a work trip, but I made it partly a holiday. But yeah, the only thing I didn't do is I didn't go to the zoo at night, which I wish I would have done it.
The night safari.
Yeah, but I was so jet lagged, I just couldn't make it to do it. So after dinner every night, I was ready for sleep.
Just go to bed. Yeah, the time difference is crazy. I've just come back from being in New York, and just the jet lag it's something else because it's 13 hours at the moment. So it's like night and day, literally. It's really quite something.
And the flight is insane. So.
The longest in the world. Yeah. So that's why.
Yeah. Well, thanks for coming on. So I have so much I want to talk to you about, but just to can you just give my audience a little bit, like a 1-minute background about who you are? And then I have 1,000 questions I want to ask you.
Amazing. Well, hi, everyone. I am an occupational therapist. So most people don't really know what that is, because I would say it's named a little bit poorly, because when we hear the word occupation, we think of work. Mm-hmm. And occupation is actually everything that you do that's meaningful to you. So really, it's what do you occupy your time with, which is everything from your work and your self-care and your leisure activities to your relationships and to being with yourself. And so I support people, mainly neurodivergent folks, or people who have more sensitive nervous systems, and help them to feel more at ease with themselves and the world around them. And I am neurodivergent myself, so I draw a lot on my own experiences. And that's what I do. That's a little bit of what I do.
So at what point in your life did you kind of realize that maybe the way that you're experiencing the world may be different than others are experiencing the world?
I think I probably always felt a little different. I think I grew up in a very loving home, but at a time where my parents didn't have the language or the resources that we have today. Mm-hmm. And they kind of almost intuitively accommodated for me. I was the kid that was very bright and did kind of inconsistently but pretty well at school. Yeah. But I would be kind of running around the room, upside down on the sofa, doing kind of somersaults and all sorts of crazy things, shouting out answers to questions to my dad, who would be asking me further probing questions, and he would be scribing for me. Do you mean this? Do you mean that? No, I don't mean that. Say it like this. Just kind of really working with, knew that I needed that movement, that kind of sensory experience, knew that I needed help with writing, but then also became writing is one of my favorite hobbies now, So I think they really found a way to kind of work with my mind, but there was a lot of things that they also didn't understand about me. And so I think it's no coincidence that I ended up doing what I'm doing, because I guess I just kind of like followed my curiosity in life. And then it was only once I started working that I was like, doesn't everybody do this? Like some of the things that I would help clients with, isn't this just kind of what everyone does? And then, kind of found my way to discovery, and it's an interesting journey.
Where did you grow up?
South Africa.
South Africa,
in Cape Town. Yeah.
And was there a point in your career when kind of you had that understanding of what well-being actually meant to you, or what it meant to your... Well, let's start with you and then talk about the people that your patients or whatever. Is there a time where you're like, this is what well-being actually means?
Wow. What a great question. I love that question. Thank you for asking that. I think it's a continual journey. I think that I'm still discovering what it means. And because there's always a deepening into your understanding of these things. I think that there was a point where I got really burnt out from working in systems where the expectation was that we were going to fix people, and where there was a real heavy medical model, what we call a medical model, where really what we mean by that is an emphasis on everyone needs to be a particular way, and that this is what healthy means, the standard. And actually, there's so much more to well-being. And the way that those standards and certain environments, a lot of environments that we operate in are set up, I don't think that it really works for most people. I think there's very few people that operate in that way. And so what I am discovering and continue to discover is that well-being is something that fluctuates over time. It's really about our capacity to meet each moment. It's something that is based on our strengths. So we all build our lives on our strengths. And it's more about our capacity to meet each moment than it is about fixing ourselves. And so I think it's, if we come from a place of embracing who we are and kind of becoming a friend to ourselves, rather than standing behind with this whip of you must do better, it's a very different approach. And the other piece that really has become very important to me recently is this belief that we seem to have that there is a space where everything is easy and there's like a permanent ease in our life. And
where is that? I want to go there.
Where is that, right?
Yeah. I would love to go there.
It doesn't exist, is the reality. And I think a lot of our pain and suffering comes from that belief, this belief that exists. And the reality as being human is a challenge after a challenge. And we can meet those challenges with more ease, but we have to meet them and we have to accept that that's part of being human. So,
yeah. So, I mean, like relationships and, your environment, your job, all that stuff kind of, impacts your nervous system and who you are. So what do you think is unique about what you do to kind of help people adjust to that?
I think that one of the things is, first of all, that it's very much relationship based. So I believe that our challenges develop in our relationships from an early age. And I also believe that we heal in relationship and that we find ourselves in community. And when I show you that it's safe to hold space and that your challenging experiences are safe, like it sucks that there is pain and anger and grief and suffering, and it's safe and you will survive it. So when I can show you that in community with you, that's how you learn to do that for yourself as well. But we
Yeah.
continue to do it in community. What's the first thing you do when something challenging happens? Often we call a friend, right? We call
Yeah.
our siblings, whoever we feel close with. We voice note, we text each other. Those are our resources. Those are our people, right? So I think the first part is really that I'm relationship focused. And I believe that healing happens in that context. And simply by someone being there and being a mirror to you and building trust and being someone that can show you it's okay and have some hard conversations and
Yeah.
challenge you when we feel safe so that you can be brave in that space. And then the other part I think that's really important that I do that's maybe a little different is I really believe that our body is a huge part of our experience, that emotions and stress lives in the body. And so my lens is very much focused on being holistic. So it's not just about thoughts. It's not just about talking. That stuff is important. It really is important that we can process things intellectually, that we can put language to our experiences, but it happens a little bit later on. So the
Yeah.
first part is in your body. And so I use a sensory lens. So I think about your sensory systems and where you're experiencing these things in our body. And it shows up in our body too, right? Like
Yeah.
I will see stress in your body through your eyes, through how you're holding your posture, through maybe what your hands are doing, where there's redness on your face. It shows in our body. We feel it in our body. Our breath changes. So we're noticing those things, and then we're also using the body to kind of somatically work through it while we're putting words to it.
And we'll be right back. Okay, and now back to the show. Is there ever a time where it's just, it's so let me kind of step back and ask this question first. Did COVID have a huge reset in the world? Because I'll just kind of give you an example and tell you what I'm thinking. I I feel that myself, since we were, in lockdown for so long, and um, were you in Singapore during COVID?
Yes, it was
Okay, and were you completely locked down like we were in the United States?
very much so. Yes.
Yeah. So, during the lockdown, I think that it changed my relationship with everything. So, I was working at home part-time, and then going into the office a couple of days a week, and then whenever COVID happened, I was at home full-time, and I never wanted to go back to an office again, right? So, that was the first thing. But it also, I think the biggest impact that it had on me was that I get and I always think about this whenever, and I just during the holidays, I thought about this. Whenever I am in a situation where it's so much socialization, I need like downtime afterwards. And I don't know if it's my age, that it happened because of my age at a certain point where you flip a switch and you're like, yeah, I'm not that social person anymore. Or if it truly was, I got so used to not being around so many people and I like it now. Like, and I don't need to go out 5 nights a week anymore or 7 nights a week or even 2 nights a week. I don't need to go out at all,
Mhm.
really. There's some weeks where I don't need to go out at all. And
Right.
during, like, the holidays, being around family was amazing, but after that stretch of, like, day 4, I was done. Like,
Yeah.
I couldn't
You're
wait to
like,
get
I
home.
need some breaks. Yes.
Yeah. And I'll just kinda tell you that my husband definitely changed because he will go he has no desire to go out and do anything anymore. Like, he works, but he has no desire to go out to dinners anymore. He'd rather go to a brunch or a lunch with somebody and then come home. He doesn't have a desire to go out and be social, like, and have drinks or anything like that with
Yeah.
anybody. And he also, when he does go, like, on a trip with friends or with us, he'll come home and he'll need, like, a 2 or 3-day decompression where there's, like,
Yeah.
and I mean a real decompression where he could lay in bed and just watch TV and nap for, like, 2
Nothing.
days. Nothing. And so Is that normal?
Mm, what is normal?
Yeah. I mean,
I you know what comes up for me in that is I wonder how much we were suppressing our needs and masking our needs
uh,
prior to COVID
yeah.
because there just was no other way. So, and I think this is something that's so common is this idea that we kind of put on this mask. I often think about even like when the weekend is wrapping up on a Sunday, when
Hmm.
we kind of get those Sunday scaries. I think
Yes.
part of that is that transition to the week where now, okay, I've got to be like Monday, Nikki, you know?
Yeah.
And I think masking has a high, it takes a toll on us
Yeah.
because psychologically it takes a huge toll. So I wonder if part of it was that there was an imbalance before to maybe we weren't listening to our own signals so much. We weren't aware of how much space and time we need. And we were just kind of on this
Hmm.
constant wheel. And then COVID was like the opposite of that. And we
Yeah.
had all of this isolation. And I think there is a little bit of then becoming used to that and losing some of our confidence maybe in socializing
Yeah.
and adjusting, right? It's an adjustment then back to life after something like that. And as humans, we aren't, or not all of us are very adaptable. Transitions are hard for us, is what I
Yeah.
mean. And I think the challenge is that we struggle to pace ourselves and we struggle to listen to. We aren't aware of our internal cues, and we wait until we are in overwhelm to
Yeah.
take that break. And one of the things I really preach a lot, this I can really get on my hill about this, is if we could learn to take care of ourselves a little bit more along the way. If you think of it like a balloon that's just there's air constantly being blown into it, or a
Yep.
tire that's about to burst, if we could let some of that air out a little bit along the way and be a little bit more aware, have those boundaries, be clear with each other. It's kind to everyone to take breaks, right?
Yeah.
Then perhaps we would not reach that capacity where we then need 5 days to recover from our
Yeah.
holiday with our family. But we might
Yeah.
still, So, yeah, I don't think we fully know the effects of COVID yet. It is
Yeah.
my honest feeling.
I mean, even whenever I have to go for work trips and you're with people all day and then you have dinners at night with everybody, and by the third night, I'm thinking of a way to get out of it. Like, how can I get
Yeah,
out of this work dinner? Because I just like I wanna go back to my hotel room and I wanna just, like, watch TV
veg.
and veg and order room service and, like, do nothing. And then, like, if I could do that one night in the middle of a 6-day work, 5-day work trip, I could, like, get up the next I need the one day, then I could start the next day and I could be fine. I just need that one day to myself, so,
Yes, yes. If only we
um
could like operate work trips in that way, right? Just
yeah,
give
exactly.
each other a little bit of breathing space.
Yeah, and whenever do you think that people are supporting people more with kind of, the neurodivergence and stuff? Do you think that people are more understanding about it? Because I feel like it's more common now to hear that term than it
Mm-hmm.
was 10, 15 years, 10 years ago even. I feel like it's a more it's out there more, and I feel like people are talking more about it, and from just having family members that struggle with this, children are now being diagnosed with this, where whenever I was growing
Mm-hmm.
up, you never heard that word, you never would hear
Yeah.
this, but you also, there's a lot of things you didn't hear about. And I think that, do you think it's becoming a more people are just more educated and it's more mainstream now?
Yes, I think that there has been a huge movement, especially online. We
Yeah.
have social media to thank for a lot of that, I have to
Yeah.
say. There's more of an awareness and there's a lot of advocacy work that has been done.
Yeah.
So, yes, I do think so. And I think I think there's a lot more work to do. And I think that these topics are complicated, they are nuanced. And I think sometimes what happens is that the pendulum kind of swings in the opposite direction, where it
Mm-hmm.
kind of becomes, which I have watched a little bit, I would say, that where it becomes like, this is your superpower. This is the best thing about you.
Oh,
Actually,
yeah.
that's the best way to be. Everyone, I wish everyone was like, or everyone is like this. That's the other one
Yeah.
that I hear a lot. Everyone is
Yeah.
a little bit neurodivergent. And I actually think that there's a more balanced way to look at it, because yes, there are things about being neurodivergent that make you amazing, that are incredible strengths.
Yeah.
And it's hard, and the world is not set up for that.
Yeah.
And there's things that I hope I continue to grow and evolve about myself for the rest of my life, right? And that's, I can feel in strength and empowered with being who I am, and I can also hope to grow. So, yeah.
Do you think that people's, so there's a lot of talk about companies about, work-life balance, how important that is.
Mm-hmm.
And, well-being programs that a lot of companies have. I'm not talking about any, I think it's a lot of companies have, or larger companies or medium-sized companies have these type of things where, work-life balance is they're saying these things to get people recruited to come work there and stuff. And I think Europe and maybe parts of Asia do holiday times the right way, where in the United States, we don't know how to do it the right way. Because in Europe, a lot of countries that I work with will take a 2 full weeks off or 3 weeks off, especially in August time frame, where in the United States, you feel guilty sometimes for taking a week off.
Yeah.
And
it sounds like people really take very little time off in the US.
Yeah, they do. It's very little time off. I mean, like companies give a fair amount of, holiday time and vacation time, but people, and you're always checking in also. That's another thing I think Americans do, is that just because there was a company I was working for several years ago, and I took a 4-day weekend, and I did not bring my computer with me. And that Monday, I was getting text saying, I need you to get online to do this. And I'm like, I don't have my computer. And the person called me on my cell phone saying, what type of leader are you that you didn't bring your computer with you on vacation? Yes. And she said, basically, I bring my computer with me every time I leave the house. Like, going to dinner, she'll have it in the car. Because she never knows if she needs it. And so that's the type of things that I think that people are not taking care of themselves. And they have, they're not listening to their body, because she was clearly burnt out most of the time. You could see it, like you were saying, you could see it in people's eyes, their skin. You could see it in her the moment she walked in the office. She was just like a bundle of nerves. And it just like expanded through the whole office whenever she was there, because everybody felt it, and they kind of just grabbed onto it and felt that way too because of her.
Can you imagine living like that, in that constant state of complete fight or flight, essentially?
No.
It's, what a way to live. And we're so scared, right? We're in such panic. That's where it comes from, is it's of fear. I think that what is hard is, as a society, we don't see rest as productive.
Yeah.
We see rest as something completely separate. And one thing that I wish every company knew is how important for your brain a space of nothingness is. When you're in that like daydreamy state, or you have a shower and you suddenly have this idea, or you're on a walk or a run and suddenly something just like gets integrated for you, and a problem is solved, and you're not sitting and thinking about it and writing your pros and cons list, or like brainstorming. That's not where the brain solves problems. It solves problems in the space of nothingness. We need that. It's called the default mode network, and it's activated in that kind of nothingness space. And it's incredibly important for us as humans. And we don't prioritize it. We think of even our like hobbies become our side hustles, right? Like
I know exactly what you mean. Yeah.
It's like, when did you last just like pick up a crayon or a piece of paper and just scribble something for the sake of it, right? When did you last do something? Because that in itself has meaning. That process in itself allows you to integrate things. We're people who, human beings, we love symbols. Symbolism is a big part of our processing. Through doing things like art, we process a lot and ideas come to us. So I wish that more people knew that, because I think then we would create a lot more space in our lives, and that in itself is productive. But we kind of want to like stretch every minute. And even when you were talking about how companies prioritize wellness, I was thinking, I wonder how many of them just prioritize wellness for the sake of prioritizing wellness. A lot of it is we prioritize wellness so that when you're at work, you're more productive, right?
I think a lot of it is not even genuine whenever they're saying they're prioritizing wellness. Like, I think it's literally just like, again, I think it's number one, I think it's a recruiting tool for human resources to get people to come and work there. And I'm not talking about any particular company. I'm just talking about,
in general,
companies in general. And like I said, I've worked at companies before where there was a company that had unlimited vacation, unlimited holidays.
Oh, this is such a catch. It's such a scam.
It's the opposite, because you really take less time because they make you feel
You're never off.
You're never off. You're never off. So it's the opposite. Like, and when you take vacation, and that was the same company that had unlimited vacation time that actually is the woman that told me that I need to bring my computer wherever I go.
Everywhere.
Well, yeah, it's crazy. And we'll be right back. Okay, and now back to the show. I wanted to ask you, and this is, something a little different though, but I feel like maybe you know a little bit about this. So there's these telepathy tapes podcasts. Have you heard of these? And I think I'm listening to it now, and I think it's so fascinating how these, and for the listeners that don't know what telepathy tapes are, listen to the podcast, because it's fascinating, I think. And it's basically these children that are non-speaking, non-verbal children, and they can actually, this journalist or reporter went and visited some. I'm only in like the third episode, so I can't say what's too much about. But basically, these children are able to read almost their parents' thoughts in a way. And they did all these tests where there was like they were in an other side of the room or behind a wall, and they were able to exactly like solve math problems, say the color, like all this stuff. What do you think about that?
Wow. I love that you're listening to that. I haven't finished them either.
Okay.
But I am so fascinated by it. And I just think it shows how little we actually know.
Exactly. That's what I think too.
And I love that we are exploring it. And I think that innately we are all quite intuitive beings, and that we can absolutely tap into that.
Yeah.
And I think the one of the biggest messages that I took away from the little bit that I have listened to is also, especially with the non-speaking community, how much they have been written off to not understand or to not be competent. And the reality is that is just absolutely not true.
Yeah.
And when you can accommodate for someone to be able to communicate in a robust, meaningful way, you're empowering them. And we should always presume that everyone can communicate and has that competence in them. And I'm excited, I'm excited to see where things go.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's almost, and this is just my opinion after listening to 3 or so episodes, is that it's almost like another sense that we have, or it's a part of the brain that we haven't discovered how to use for everybody. And I feel like everybody may have that, but they have turned it on and we just haven't yet, or we don't know how.
Oh, I'm so with you. And there's beautiful research even, which is not, it's like on a similar vein that I am really interested in, that talks about how we can feel each other when we're thinking about each other.
Mm-hmm.
And when you have it's happened to all of us where you're just thinking of someone and suddenly you get a text from them or something like that, right?
Yeah.
And there's so much research that supports that we feel each other's intentions before we feel each other's words. And it's a lot about our nonverbal expressions. It is. And I think most people can sort of get on board with that, I can feel your we have micro facial expressions that are subconscious, right? So I can feel when you are disgusted by me before you can say something or arrange your face in a way that doesn't show that. There's a little expression for each of those.
Yeah.
And those impact little babies from as early as like a few weeks old, I think. Sorry, I'm going to get that wrong. But very, very young, the baby can feel the mother's intent in her body language. And so that's one piece of it. And there's growing evidence that before you walk into a room. So I will, as a therapist, one of my kind of practices is that before I go into a session, I really bring the person that I'm working with up in my mind, and I really hold them there, and I hold my positive intent and my loving intentions for them, because when I go into that session, they feel that. And whether you believe that they actually feel it before that, or whether it changes my nervous system in how I show up, it doesn't matter really, right? Because the love is there.
Yeah. I mean, I totally believe that. I mean, I believe that's what you're saying, that philosophy that you're talking about. And there's weird things, I think, also whenever you're with someone often. So whether it's a work colleague or you're in a relationship, there's just things that whenever I work with somebody so closely that we can almost start to finish each other's sentences. And that sounds so cliche in a way, but like we're on the same page about not just work stuff, just, I don't know, like, where are we going? What do you want for lunch today? And we could almost say sushi at the same time. And it's like, we haven't had sushi in 2 years together, but for some reason Yeah.
And I call that attunement. Like, you're attuned to each other. Yeah. And we think that the stuff is conscious, but so much happens below consciousness.
Yeah.
So how do you explain that in any other way? I love that idea of attunement, because it's like a resonance. When you have a tuning fork and the other fork kind of starts to vibrate, there's a resonance with each other, and that's scientific. It's not just some woo-woo stuff.
Yeah. What do you think about? I don't get political on my show. I try not to, but after being, and I'm sure you hear everything that happens, but after being in New York and stuff, I'm sure you probably saw some news and stuff that's happening. What do you think that's doing to people in everyday life?
Our poor nervous systems.
Yeah.
I just think we were not designed to constantly be in a state where we are being hit by crazy news. And if you think of the way social media is designed, you are getting cute puppy, cute cat, genocide.
Yes.
It's within seconds of each other.
Yeah.
And in the most kind of intense ways, because that's how content is designed. I just don't think that that's how we were supposed. Well, this is how we're living, but I think it's just not very good for our nervous systems, and it scares me. It scares me a little bit.
I mean, I think it scares a lot of people just because it's, I think I'm thinking about it like at some point it's got to get better and it's going to end and things are going to be back to normal, whatever normal is. And I don't even know if there ever was a normal, to be honest. But, every day I think we're almost there. I feel like something's going to change for the good. And, I don't know if that's just me being super optimistic about the world or the United States, but I feel like something's got to change soon because I don't feel like everybody can keep going the way things are going now and live a sustainable, healthy life. That's just my own.
I think thank you for having that belief because we need that as a society. We need to have hope. Hope is a very, very crucial ingredient. And one of the things that helps me with that is to look at history and look at how human beings are resourceful and have survived. And that saying, history doesn't repeat itself, but it rhymes.
Yeah.
It kind of, we have overcome very, very difficult things and there are real horrible, awful things happening at the moment. And I think we have to plant those seeds of hope.
Yeah. Do you ever kind of step back sometimes from your work and kind of reflect on like all of these amazing things that you're doing to help people and thinking about like how you have changed people's lives for the better and you've probably saved lives in certain times and just you've changed the direction of how somebody is living their life? Do you ever I don't want to say pat yourself on the back, but do you ever reflect on all that good work and that good energy that you've put out there?
Wow. I love these questions so much. You know what? I try. I do try. I have intentional spaces in my life where I do that. So I have wonderful mentors and I really try and they really try and hold those containers to do that. But I think it actually happens in little moments in sessions or where a client will have a little, a moment of integration of something or a response to something that's just a little bit different. And I actually get goosebumps saying that. Those are the moments where I'm really I'm so I delight in those moments. And so I think yes, in a sense, I take those moments because those are the things that really matter to me. It's the little things because that's how I believe that we change is just we heal in little moments in relationships. So and it's a very much, this work is extremely bi-directional. And I don't buy into the belief of very traditional therapy that is you are a blank slate coming into the session. We're not, we're human beings. So I am as affected by this work as my clients are, I would say, and I'm transformed through it. So I'm constantly learning stuff. I was the little neurodivergent kid that was holding it together and trying to figure out this world that didn't make any sense to her. So I think there's healing in the work that I do as well. And I do not take that for granted.
Awesome. Do you only work with people locally or do you work with people online as well?
Online, very much. So a lot of my work's actually moved online. And so, I coach a lot of people who identify with this work, a lot of parents as well. So a lot of my work is with kiddos. And a lot of it's online. So,
and if somebody wants to find you and talk with you and set up a session with you, how would they get in touch with you?
The easiest way to kind of follow my work and get in touch with me is on Instagram. I'm Nikki Smit Therapy. And so anyway, that's where I kind of host most of my work. And
Yeah.
so from there, they can kind of find anything else.
And so for anybody listening to this or watching this, I'll put that in the description of the podcast or the video. So you can go and you can follow Nikki and see what her work is and reach out to her. So thank you so much for being on. You're like, you were so fascinating, and I'm so glad we got to talk about this. And, like I said, what the work you're doing is so important. So I'm glad you're there, and I'm glad you came to talk.
Well, thank you so much for holding the space and for your beautiful questions. A lot of those have never been asked before. I absolutely love talking to you.
Great. Thanks so much for being on. And if this episode resonates with somebody that you think would like to hear it, please forward it and leave a comment. Thanks everybody for listening, and check back in a few days for a new episode. Thank you.